Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Vasishtha continued. In connection with this, O Rama, there is an ancient legend which I shall now narrate to you. There once lived to the north of the Himalaya mountain a terrible Demoness known as Karkati. She was huge, black, and dreadful to look at. This Demoness could not get enough to eat, and she was ever hungry. She thought, if only I can eat all the people living in Jambudvipa in one meal, then my hunger will disappear. Let me engage myself in penance, for through penance is attained that which would otherwise be extremely difficult to attain. Karkati then went up to one of the snow peaks and commenced her penance. In course of time, she had grown so thin that it looked as if she was a skeleton clad in transparent skin. After 1,000 years had passed, the Creator Brahma appeared before her. Pleased with her penance, she bowed to him mentally. She thought, I shall request that I should become a living steel pin, Suchika, an embodiment of disease. With this boon, I shall simultaneously enter the hearts of all living beings and fill my desire and appease my hunger. When Brahma said to her, I am pleased with your penance. Ask a boon of your choice. She expressed her wish. Brahma said, so be it. You shall also be called Visuchika. Remaining a subtle thing, you will inflict pain on those who eat the wrong food and indulge in wrong living by entering their heart. Immediately, O Rama, the Demoness with a mountainous body began to shrink gradually to the size of a pin. She became so subtle that her existence could only be imagined. She was constantly followed by her other form known as Visuchika or Cholera. Though she was extremely subtle and unseen, her demonical mentality underwent no change at all. Visuchika was radiant and was as subtle as the aroma of flowers. Dependent upon the life force of others, she was devoted to her own work. She had gained the boon of her choice, but she could not fulfill her desire to devour all beings. That is because she was of the size of a needle. How strange! The deluded ones do not have a foresight. The selfish person's violent effort to gain his selfish ends often lead to other results, even as a person is unable to see his face when he runs to the mirror, puffing and panting. His own breath mists the mirror. Suchika entered into the physical bodies of people who on account of previous illnesses had been greatly debilitated or had become obese, and transformed herself into Visuchika or Cholera. Suchika entered into the heart of even a healthy and intelligent person and perverted his intellect. In some cases, however, she left the person when the latter underwent a healing treatment, either with the aid of a mantra or with drugs. Suchika had her numerous hiding places. Among them were dust and dirt on the ground, unclean fingers, thread in a cloth, within one's body in the muscles, dirty skin covered with dust, unclean furrows on the palm and on other parts of the body due to senility, places where flies abound, in a lusterless body, in places full of decaying leaves, in places devoid of healthy trees, in people of filthy dress, people of unhealthy habits, in tree stumps caused by deforestation, in which the flies breed, in puddles of stagnant water, in polluted water, in open sewers running in the middle of the roads, in rest houses used by the travelers, and in those cities where there were many animals like elephant, horses, etc., unharmed and unprovoked by others. Suchika works for the destruction and death of others. Known also as Jiva Suchika, she moves in all beings as a life force with the help of prana and apana, subjecting the jiva to sorrow caused infinitely sharp pain of gout and rheumatism, which makes one lose his mind. She enters into the feet like a needle and drinks blood. Like all wicked people, she rejoices in others' sorrow. After living in this manner for a long time, the Demoness Karkati was thoroughly disillusioned and repented her foolish desire to devour people, which entailed severe penance for thousands of years and the degraded existence as a needle and a cholera virus. She thus bewailed her own self-inflicted misfortune. Alas, where is my mountainous body, and where is the form of a needle? Alas, I am lost. I have surely lost my mind and my senses. The mind that is heading towards calamity first creates delusion and wickedness, and these themselves later expand into misfortune and sorrow. I am never free, ever at the mercy of others. I am in the hands of others and do what they make me do. I desire to appease the goblin of desire to devour all, but that has led to a remedy worse than the disease, and a greater goblin has arisen. Surely I am a brainless fool. Hence, I threw away such a great and gigantic body and deliberately choose this despicable body of a virus or a needle. At once, Karkati abandoned all wish to devour living beings and went to the Himalaya. Standing as if on one foot, she began her penance. Karkati's whole being became completely purified by this penance, and she gained the highest wisdom. The energy of her penance set the Himalaya on fire, as it were. Indra, the king of heaven, learned from sage Narada of Karkati's unprecedented undertaking. Indra commissioned Vayu, the wind god, to find out the exact spot where Suchika dwelt. In the Himalaya, Vayu saw the ascetic Suchika standing like another peak of the mountain. She had become almost completely dried up. When Vayu entered her mouth, she threw it out again and again. She had withdrawn her life force to the crown of her head and stood as a perfect yogini. Vayu forthwith returned to heaven, where he reported to Indra. Thereupon Indra went to Brahma, and in answer to his prayer, Brahma went to where Suchika was engaged in penance. In the meantime, Suchika had become totally pure by her penance. She had gained direct knowledge of the supreme, causeless cause of all by her own examination of the intelligence within her. Surely, direct inquiry into all the movements of thought in one's own consciousness is the supreme guru or perceptor, O Rama, and no one else. Brahma said to her, ask a boon. She reflected within herself. I have reached the realization of the Absolute. What shall I do with boons? Brahma said, the eternal world order cannot be set aside, O ascetic, and it decrees that you should regain your previous body, live happily for a long time, and then attain liberation. You will live an enlightened life, afflicting only the wicked and the sinful, and causing the least harm, and that too only to appease your natural hunger. Suchika accepted what Brahma had said, and soon her needle-like body grew into the mountainous body which was before. Karkati regained her former demonical form. She experienced hunger. For as long as body lasts, it is subject to its own physical laws, including hunger and thirst. She heard an aerial voice say, O Karkati, approach ignorant and deluded people and awaken wisdom in them. This indeed is the only mission of enlightened beings. One whom you thus endeavor to enlighten but who fails to awake to truth is fit for your consumption. You shall incur no sin by devouring such an ignorant person. Hearing this, Karkati entered a dense forest where the hill tribe and hunters dwelt. In that region, there was a king known as Vikram. As was his custom, the king, along with the minister, went out into the dense darkness of the night to protect his subjects by subduing robbers and dacoits. Karkati saw these two men. She reflected, surely these two men have come here to appease my hunger. They are ignorant and therefore a burden on earth. Such ignorant people suffer here and thereafter. Suffering is the only mission in their life. Death unto them is a welcome release from such a suffering, and it is possible that after death they will awake and seek their salvation. But it may be that they are both wise men, and I do not like to kill wise men. For whoever wishes to enjoy unalloyed happiness, fame, and long life should by all means honor and worship good men by giving them all that they might wish to have. Let me therefore test their wisdom. If they are wise, I shall not harm them. Wise men, good men, are indeed great benefactors of humanity. Karkati shouted, Hey, you two little worms, roaming this dense forest, who are you? Tell me quick, or else I shall devour you. The king and the minister beheld her dreadful form, and without being perturbed in the very least, the minister said to her, O Demoness, why are you so angry? To seek food is natural to all living beings, and in performing one's natural functions, one need not be bad-tempered. Even selfish ends are gained by the wise by appropriate means and appropriate behavior or action. After they give up anger and mental agitation and resort to equanimity and clear mind. We have seen thousands of insects like you and have dealt justly with them, for it is a duty of a king to punish the wicked and protect the good. Give up your anger and achieve your end by resorting to tranquility. Such indeed is appropriate conduct. Whether one is able to achieve one's ambition or not, one should always remain peaceful. Ask us what you will have, for we have never turned a beggar away empty-handed. Karkati greatly admired the courage and wisdom of the two men She thought, let me utilize this opportunity to clear the doubts that are in my mind. For he is surely a fool who, having the company of wise men, neglects to clear his doubt. She said to them, if you two men do not possess self-knowledge, then, in accordance with my inherent nature, I shall devour you both. In order to determine this, I shall ask you some questions. Give me the right answers. O King, what is it that is one and yet is many, and in which millions of universes merge? What is it that is pure space, though it appears to be not so? What is it that is me in you, and that is you in me? What is it that moves yet does not move? What is it that is a rock, though conscious, and what plays wonderful tricks in empty space? What is it that is not the sun and the moon and the fire, and yet eternally shines? What is that atom that seems to be far and yet so near? What is it that is of the nature of consciousness and yet is not knowable? What is it that is all and yet is not any of these? What is it that, though it is very self of all, is veiled by ignorance and is regained after many lifetimes of intense and persistent effort? What is it that is atomic and yet contains a mountain within it, and that transforms the three worlds into a blade of grass? What it is that, without ever renouncing its atomic nature, appears to be bigger than the biggest mountain? What is that atom in which the entire universe rests like a seed during the cosmic dissolution? What it is that is responsible for the function of all elements in the universe, though it does nothing at all? Of what are the seer, the sight, and the seen made? What is it that veils and reveals the threefold manifestation? In what is the apparent threefold division of time established? What is it that comes into manifestation and vanishes alternatively? With this, we finish today's chapter. We'll listen to the answers in the next one. See you soon.